I came across a recent study that showed that between the ages of 8 and 14, girls' confidence levels can fall by as much as 30%. So yes, 30%. This statistic is staggering, but it's not completely unsurprising by what I see in my office working with teens. I'm Jamie Dana from Elevate Counseling, here to explain what contributes to this confidence crisis and what you as a parent can do to help. So a part of the drop in confidence is because during the teen years, we face an identity crisis. Teens are trying to figure out who they are. It's a time of individuating yourself from your parents. And it's also about deciding how you see yourself, what's your personal worldview going to look like. So teens typically, they try on several hats during this period of time. Take a minute and think back in your own life, to your middle school or high school phases. I went through, a short grunge phase where I listened to a lot of Nirvana and Green Day. That did not last long. I spent most of my years selling out and listening to Britney Spears. So, this individuation period is scary because it really rocks your teen's stable foundation where they used to accept your worldview as theirs, and so that is shaken. And this, generally, kids come back to, some of the worldview, conceptualization that they had growing up, but they have to be able to make this transition independently. So, ironically, another major reason for this confidence gap is related to a desire to please and fit in. We're social creatures at heart. Our ancestors, they survived in packs. If you didn't toe the line or contribute in some kind of meaningful way, you were out, right? And survival was unlikely. So your teen is in the process of trying to balance a strong need for individuation with a strong need for unconditional acceptance. So it's no wonder that they are all over their place with their emotions. Okay, so what are you supposed to do? One thing that I suggest is watching different kinds of shows that remind you of what it was like to be in this period of life. There's an entertaining series on Netflix where adults read journal entries about what they were going through when they were teenagers. Warning, some of these are not appropriate to watch with your kids, but it can be good. The series is called Mortified. It can be good to remind you of some of those questions and ponderings that you go through during your teen years, or read your own journals from that period of time. We tend to forget the turmoil that, because we have time, and perspective as adults. But these challenges are very real when you're living through them as a teenager. To help your teen take the fear out of failure. So failure is inevitable. We learn and we grow through challenge, right? And the occasional setback. So, your teen isn't going to make every team. They aren't going to get every job. They are not going to win over every person. And some of these closed doors actually are for our betterment, right? So we want to embrace these bumps. When you normalize this, you help your teen to be able to be set up for the rebound. And you're helping them to be able to see that adjustments are all part of the process. The third thing that I want you to do is help your teen shift their thinking. So the center of the confidence gap is between your teen's ears. That internal coach or internal bully that's constantly talking in his or her head, helping them to recognize and change this internal dialogue is a main target that we have in our teen groups and in individual therapy, because research shows that recognizing how our brain is working and identifying these errors has a powerful effect on our mindset, which impacts our emotional balance. And as a parent, you want to help your child be able to diagnose some of these toxic mindsets. Is he or she stuck in all or none thinking patterns? Is she absolutely sure that all of her friends hate her, or is she just stuck in this knee-jerk reaction based on not having all of the information? Has she come to these types of conclusions in the past only to find that later she realized she was trapped in one of these catastrophic thinking patterns? 4, we want to be empathetic to our teens in the middle of these emotional crises. It's not the time to remind them that everything's going to be fine. They're clearly not thinking rationally. Their brains have been hijacked by their emotions. So take this time to be able to just listen and be an empathetic ear, and then later you can circle back around when they've calmed down and you can revisit and help them with some perspective shifts. And lastly, get outside help if it's needed. Sometimes these patterns are more deeply ingrained in a person. Maybe they've had certain experiences, or they have certain personality traits that make it more difficult to adjust their thinking and perspective. So if this is the case, don't hesitate to reach out to a professional. Early intervention is the best predictor for long-term success. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, let me know. Share it with others that may benefit from hearing it, or like or comment below. And until next time, keep doing, keep being, and keep growing. Thanks.